SMP is rather reducing prices at a bigger margin than the other two.
All right. I'll start with your last question. I did not say that they should reduce prices. Let's be very clear. My directive is loud and clear. I have not asked them to reduce prices. I have asked them to increase value offerings. There are two different things. And if you again listen to my speech, I said that the committee that had the 14-day mandate identified 3 key areas: value, price, quality of service. So we've not, and I've stated that prices will drop when we see the movement at the finance ministry on the tax handles, and when we see movement at the energy ministry on the telecom tariff. What we are doing as a regulator and as a policy driver right now is on value. We will deal with value and quality of service. Now, why is MTN doing more? Because if you realize, when they were declared SMP about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in 2020, so 5 years ago, the ministry directed a 15% increase in their effective rates. So basically, we've reversed that. Because if we had done 10%, they would still effectively have been higher than where they were previously. And I'm minded by the fact that today, as a significant market player, whatever we do on that network affects almost 76% of all mobile network users. And so, as a sign of our commitment to understanding and dealing with the challenges Ghanaians are facing at this point in time, we've taken that decision. It means a lot more loss as well, don't forget, for the SMP, because then they are carrying a lot more burden. Because if you give more value, it's cost to the network. So if they are the SMP and you are imposing a certain, in quote, levy of some sort, they should carry more than the other 2 networks. Because if they carry less or the same, then it means that you are not being fair to the other networks that don't have the same market size. And that's why we've created this intentional arbitrage between the reductions. The other question about why 80 did not get. Do not forget that 80 is a merger between Tigo and Airtel Ghana. And both of them had spectrum holdings which got consolidated. At this point in time, 80 is the only company, MNO, that doesn't offer 4G. The ministry is currently in the process of restructuring 80. There's been a public announcement of conversations going on of a possible relationship with a private investor. And so it is important that you consummate that process before you begin the conversation about any spectrum addition, because then the new partners will want to do an assessment of what the asset holdings are today. Those asset holdings should not be fluid relative to spectrum. It should be definite. We finish the negotiations, and then we can always look at what we will do for 80. But don't forget that at this point in time, 80 belongs to the government of Ghana 100%. And like I keep saying, all options are still on the table for us relative to 80 and what we will do going forward. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, Mr. My name is Parker. I work for your party. Some of the telcos, you know that they give you the right hand and take the left hand. So in this case of reduction, are we going to see any increase in the airtime usage, or still going to maintain?
Well, are you talking of voice or data?
Voice.
This directive does not affect voice.
Yeah. So my question is, now that you're talking about reduction, are they not going to increase?
Okay. So let me be clear. All the telcos, by regulatory practice, have to notify the regulator of any price increases. And at this juncture, let me just say that Telecel did some increases on their fixed broadband, not all their mobile data services, only fixed broadband. An increase of, I think, 20 cedis and 30 cedis in some cases. The regulator has been informed, and as the ministry, we have indicated to the regulator to go back to the MNO to have a conversation on the reversal of that increase, because in this day and age, our focus is on reduction. And so the operator and the regulator will have conversations about how to walk back even those 20 and 30 CD increases. And so that should give you assurances that the regulator will not. And again, in my speech, I referenced it when I said that I asked them to do a test of all effective rates, not just data but voice, to ensure that no telco would price above what is permitted or what has been approved by the regulator. When they do the test and it is found that any of the regulators, any of the operators is charging beyond the approved rate, there'll be sanctions for it. And trust me, we will come down hard on that. But so far, in the 4 months I've engaged with the CEOs, I'm sure and confident that they will not act in a manner that is arbitrary and without recourse to the regulator. Any other questions, please? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further questions, I want to thank you, our brothers and sisters from the media, the CEOs, directors, chief director, the ministry, CEOs, the regulator. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Well, that was a press conference that was addressed by Sam Nate-George, the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation. So he has said that there's going to be an implementation of data increase starting from Tuesday, July 1. So the value offerings, the implementation of data increase in value offerings. So AT is going to increase their data value offerings by 10%, and their 400 cedis bundle will also be increased. When it comes to Telecel, they're also increasing their value offerings, their data value offerings by 10%. And the 400 Ghana cedi bundle will also be increased. And MTN will increase their data value offerings by 15%, and their 399 Ghana cedis bundle will also be increased. He says that he has also sanctioned the NCA to conduct a quality of service report from the various telcos.
Yeah, board members or even chairpersons will compromise them and make it impossible for them to exercise scrutiny and oversight. Mr. Speaker, it might be the case that having members on these boards will enhance the boards, will strengthen the boards, will make the boards more efficient, because there are members here who are very capable, very competent, and when they serve on boards can really offer leadership. And this country will be deprived of that leadership if we hold on to a strict position that members should not serve on boards or chair boards. Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that whatever the case, the Constitution is clear and our standing orders are also clear on the requirement to apply to the Office of Profit Committee for you to approve the occupancy of these board chairmanship or board membership positions. So, Speaker, I think members are already applying, and I recall last week some members approached me to urge the chairperson of that committee to start sitting. I'm told that this morning the committee actually started sitting, and members have started submitting applications to the committee. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, in the case of membership of boards, it will be difficult for a member to know whether or not he will be on a board and then apply to the committee ahead of time for approval to then go and occupy that board. It is almost impossible to know whether you will be on a board or not. So I think that consistent with what we have done in this house, being ingenious and innovative in enforcing our standing orders, such as we have done when it came to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, where we consider allies before they are late. Mr. Speaker, pre-laying arrangement that we have in this house, in the case of members who are on boards, we may waive or we may ignore the requirement of prior approval of your committee before they occupy those boards. And like we have done in the case of subsidiary legislation, if the member is appointed by the president, then the member can apply to the committee for the committee to then provide clearance, and then the process will be ratified. So, Mr. Speaker, I do agree with you. I urge all members who are on boards to quickly submit their applications to the committee, and I urge the committee to fast-track the process, except that, Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with you, and this is a plea, that the 2 weeks is indeed quite, Mr. Speaker, quite a difficult timeline. Mr. Speaker, there are many members who are serving on boards, and there are many who are running their private companies. There are many who have their own private companies, they are serving on boards. Mr. Speaker, I know somebody who runs a big haulage company, a very big haulage company in this chamber. I say I know somebody who runs a very big haulage company. And I know somebody who runs financial institutions. I'm not even looking in the direction of that person, Mr. Speaker. But I know somebody who runs financial institutions. And some run radio stations, TV stations. Mr. Speaker, as you will know, the facilities and remuneration of members in relation to their responsibilities places an obligation on members to pursue their private careers even as they sit in this chamber. So almost everybody is either running a private business or is serving on a board or is a minister or some other vocation, Mr. Speaker. And so there are lawyers, there are doctors, they are practicing, there are pharmacists, there are engineers, there are architects. Mr. Speaker, I plead with you to extend the time a bit so that we will all be able to apply, because your committee chairperson will not be able, in my candid opinion, to really deal with all the applications within 2 weeks. So mine is a plea, Mr. Speaker, if you could review the time frame within which members should submit their application. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I agree entirely with you that we need to strengthen this House. We need to, as much as possible, remove the opportunities and the temptation for conflict of interest and executive overlap, or, the executive engulfing the entire legislature, and then the legislature losing its capacity to be independent. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I've listened attentively to the submissions of your leaders, but I find it difficult to accept that members need more than 2 weeks to submit forms. To submit the forms to the committee for assessment. I'm not saying you should get the certificate within 2 weeks, but you have 2 weeks.
Thank you. If it's just the submission, Mr. Speaker, I don't think we'll have a problem.
2 weeks to submit
2 weeks is sufficient,
the
Mr. Speaker.
forms to the committee on profit. They definitely will need some time to assess and investigate, to be able to recommend to the Speaker, not approve. They don't have any power to approve. To recommend to the Speaker. It's the Speaker who will grant the permission after due approval. You want to contest that? Again, let's look at the concept in the Constitution. I listened to the minority leader. Let's look at the concept in the Constitution, where it is Parliament that exercises oversight over all those boards, public boards, and the same members of Parliament go to sit there and then report back to the House, come and participate, and then oversee what they have done over there. The principle of the law is clear. What is not specifically prohibited by the law is permitted by the law. But when it's specifically prohibited by the law, it's caught within that prohibition. And so, I, for example, as majority leader in 2009, when I was offered the position to be Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, I rejected it because I could not subsume the authority of a majority leader, the leader of the House, as a minister to be under the dictates and directive of the executive. So I have always argued against the majority leader of the House, being a minister of state. People disagreed with me, and they continued. Today, I was offered to be chair of the National Health Insurance Authority, as you all know. Speaker's chair it. I rejected it because I think it's not proper to go and chair the board, submit reports under the supervision of a minister. The speaker is now under a minister, and the report will come to the House, and the House will now be presided over by the minister, the speaker. And I said no. I rejected it. But that's what used to happen. Some of you don't know. That is not proper. You cannot go and chair the boards, the corporations, work over there, submit reports through the minister. The minister submits the report to Parliament. Then you come and preside over those reports and approve or disapprove. Please, issues of conflict of interest, prejudice arise. I have no problem with any member testing the matter in court. That is what the courts are there for. But I'm very clear in my mind that the step I've taken is one of the correct and best steps to enforce the authority of this House, to be able to hold public officers to account to the good people of this country. The concept is clear in the Constitution. The concept that because members of Parliament are full-time employees, there's an acceptance and concession in the Constitution that the state will not be in the position to provide all what you need to do your work. And so they gave a window of opportunity for you to engage in other ways of earning additional income to be able to do your work. And they laid the process of how that should be done. That is all what I'm calling for you to do. The few of you that are aware have submitted the forms. And as you stated, the committee met today. I'm aware of that. I've discussed the matter of the second deputy speaker. I've also discussed this matter with other authorities and lawyers. And we believe this is the best step to take. We are becoming so much co-opted as an arm of government that Parliament is no longer effective. And at any time any party happens to win the national elections, there's a struggle between members of Parliament to be recognized by the president and be given positions in boards and corporations. Even some made chief executives of some public institutions. That definitely is totally against the spirit and letter of the Constitution. You want to reset Ghana? You have to reset Ghana. This is part of resetting the Ghana. Please, those of you who disagree with me, the way is your front. Proceed to court. We are prepared to meet you in the court. This case you cited was very clear. The Constitution has itemized the public institutions that are called upon not to actively participate in partisan politics. The word active is there. Because definitely they will all vote. But to actively, and they define it to mean when you want to take a position in the party, leadership position in the party. and participate actively, that one, there are specific public institutions that are prohibited, employees that are prohibited from doing that. The others is anybody's guess. And that is why I believe the Supreme Court took that position. Again, I didn't say that the prior approval means you should anticipate and then come for approval before you are appointed. I say after you are appointed, before you take office, make sure you pass through the process. That's all. That is all. When you get your appointment, before you proceed to take office, pass through the process. When they agree with you that it will not be in conflict with your duties here, or it will not prejudice your duties here, or any your minds considering issues that come before the House, they will recommend for that permission. But if they disagree with you, we will write to the authority offering you the appointment to better withdraw it because you are not eligible to that position. I think this should be a good step forward. And as yesterday you have heard what I said, we, by the NACAP, which ended in December 2024, and we have to come up with a new one. NACAP means National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. We need, as the House, the arm of government, to lead the key accountability institutions to prevent corruption in this country. And you know how cancerous corruption is. Please, we can genuinely earn better income than what we are doing. We can legally, rightfully earn more money than what we are trying to claw through the wrong ways. That is undermining the whole system, and none of us want to move outside this democratic system. We want to improve upon it. And I think that this is a good step forward. But as I said, you are all permitted, even if the whole House decides to go to court on this matter, I'll meet you there. So please, kindly comply with the directive in your own interest. Because I have the list of all those who have been offered various appointments, and I'm assessing them. If you don't get my permission, you are finished. Majority Leader, is it still on this same matter?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I want to find out whether the changes effected in our standing orders, which now, and I hope I'm right on this, which now allow us to ask members questions about matters for which they are responsible, addresses some of the accountability issues. Because when members are appointed to serve on boards or to chair boards, what it means is that under our standing order 78, individual members here can actually ask them questions about their performance on those boards, and they will be compelled to respond by answering to those questions on the floor. And I just want to know if, in your opinion, whether the fact that members who are board members can still be held accountable by this House, the same way that we hold ministers accountable. I want to find out if, in your opinion, Mr. Speaker, your directions, whether this enhances the quest for accountability that we seek. But I agree entirely with you. I accept your your directive and your statement. I think we must all work towards strengthening Parliament, and I can assure you of my fullest support to implement these directives that will strengthen the independence of Parliament.
You know the rule on members of Parliament coming under the scrutiny of Parliament is talking about member of Parliament, qua member of Parliament. Not member of Parliament in another capacity. Boards don't appear before Parliament to be questioned. Board members don't do the same before Parliament. There will be strangers so far as plenary sessions are concerned. So that is not covered. It's when, as a member, you get up here as a member of Parliament and make some assurances and promise some things and commit yourself to something, definitely the House will be called upon to follow up on those promises and assurances. And therefore, you can be questioned by another member on those issues, not otherwise. That is my understanding of the legal position. So please, the Hansard will be made available to you, but if you want the copies that I have, it can be distributed to you to read. You actually get the clearer view of the former statement that I have read and be guided by it. Please, it's in the interest of all of us for us to obey and comply with the constitutional provisions and outstanding orders. Those who want further clarification or the wisdom of the people having wigs, that is the courts, please, you may proceed to do so. We don't prevent you from doing it. Honorable members, we move on to the next item.
Conduct. Now to the brave men and women of our police service. You are the front line of our national security and the face of justice in our communities. You deserve leadership that supports you in your mission to serve and protect. And Mr. President, thank you for
correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We'll start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Thursday, 5th June 2025, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5,